All right, now it's recording. All right. So, what should we talk about? What's going on through your mind?
Right now, what's going on through my mind is I got 2 listings hitting the market this week in a world where, in our market, nothing's moving. Like, our listings are just sitting, buyers aren't scheduled and showing, nobody's showing up to open houses. It is the reality of what our market is right now, and I it's just part of the coaching I have to, go through with my sellers to let them know and understand what we're going to go through in this next couple months.
Why do you think that is, though? How come things aren't moving, and why other agents are also having the same issue?
So I really just think it's the market. I think that we live in a world right now where there's a lot of uncertainty what's going on, external uncertainties of what's going on, right? I mean, we talk about interest rates have not come below 6% in a long time, right? That's arguably, right? Depends on the rate, depends on every day, like all that stuff fluctuates every single day, but we're definitely not where we were earlier this year. Like earlier this year, we did some transactions where we were closing in the high 5s, and here we are today, getting lucky if we can get in the high 6s, and that's a problem, right? Because in less than a year, we've gone up an entire point, and for many buyers, that could be an extra $200 to $300 extra on their mortgage. So what that does is it creates this sense of things are unaffordable, right? We live in a world where right now groceries have gone up in price exponentially. The cost of just getting food, right? We talk about gas. I mean, we talk about gas and we think about where gases were a year ago to where they are today. And we've seen some improvement, but it's not where it was. Everybody's still complaining that the gas prices are so high. Everybody, we got the war with Iran. There's a lot of uncertainty what's going on. There's no definite end to it. And then, of course, we got the elections coming up. So a lot of people just kind of want to wait and hold off to see what's going to happen with new policies that might be introduced, with whatever happens through the election. So you combine all those things and you get, plus you get we're in a situation where we see a lot of sellers. There's a lot of inventory in our market. And I think that when we get into a situation like where we are today, I think buyers have more choice. So, we're absolutely 100% living in a buyer's market, at least for resale.
Right. Okay. So you're going into a seller's consultation. What would you be telling your potential seller clients?
So hold on, because this is going to be a long ride. This is a partnership that we're going into.
Yeah.
I am going to be helping you sell this house, but we're selling the house together. I'm going to provide the resources for you, right? I'm going to help you with the marketing. I'm going to help you with the video, the photography, the drone, the 3D walkthroughs. I might throw in Zillow Showcase for you, I may, throw you in different platforms out there. I might be doing some ad share, social media. I mean, there's so many things I can do to put your listing out there.
And all of these variables will kind of help get the house sold.
Of course. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about price. First we got to think about what the price of the house is. Everybody knows that, we don't set the price of the house. The market tells us ultimately by, what they're willing to offer, right? So, I can give you the best advice of where I think you should list, obviously I tell my sellers that if we're not getting any showings, that's just the market rejecting the price. However, I don't want to sell ourselves short because I also know that the buyers are not out there looking. So it's kind of a tricky market. It's like, what do you do? There's no right answer to this. This is uncharted territory we're going into. But they just got to know that I'm going to be with them. And it really depends on the seller situation. Sellers are in different situations that I guess life puts in front of them. You don't know
how motivated they are.
Yeah, some of it will be as an agent, I have to figure out why do they have to sell? That answers a lot of questions because sure, I could tell them it's not the right time to sell, just rent it or hold on to it and sell it next year. But at that point, I'm not listening to my client's needs. My client's needs, they have a problem. They need to sell a house for whatever that reason might be. Right. That could be, they're trying to sell their house because they're downsizing. Because right now, I might have a client who just, they're retired, but they're a little bit older. They got physical limitations, and they can't keep up with the house, with the cleaning, with the maintenance, the cutting the grass, and all the things that a 3,000 square foot home might need. And they might need to downsize to something that's more reasonable for them. That's maybe like 1,600 square feet, right? And that's perfectly fine. But they might be at a point where they physically can't do it anymore. And the value to them will be like, if I can just get into a smaller home, I don't care how much money I lose on this house. That is their motivation. That is their why, right? You may be in other situations. Some people might be pressed for sale because, you're getting promoted and you got promoted out of state and you got to move somewhere else. Now you're forced to sell your house. And at that point, you have to make that decision. If you're able to at least rent it, or if you don't want to be a landlord, have that liability, then you're forced to sell. You might be having a growing family. You might have a relative in the family that just, passed away, unfortunately, and now it's inherited, and the people don't want to keep it, they sell it. There's many reasons as to why somebody would want to sell a house. And, I would also tell sellers that as long as they sell and buy within the same market, they're going to make out about the same, right? Because if a house, like I tell sellers all the time, look, if you list right now and we, last year your house was $20,000 more and this year $20,000 less, that's fine, because on the buy side, you're going to find those same properties who are also $20,000 less, right? You're going to, whatever happens on the sell side, you're going to get back on the buy side. The problem is when you're buying and selling in different markets, or you're holding in different time periods. I know many people who sell the home, they keep their cash in the bank account, and then the market shifts, and all of a sudden, homes became more expensive, and the money they got in the bank account just got devaluated, right? Or vice versa. Some people who decided that they were going to sell their house and hold on to their money until they decided what to do, and then the market, started going through a little bit of a correction. Now they're in a position where they can buy, a better home because home prices have decreased, right? Or you have people move in different markets. Like our market right here might be a little stagnant, but South Florida, I would argue that it's booming. It's still, things are still moving, and I don't see a lot of depreciation out there. So, if you go from one market that's not doing so well to a market that's doing a little bit better, your money might not be able to stretch your money that far.
You talk a lot.
I know, I bored you.
Yeah, I'm falling asleep.
Go into a consultation, and then I have to put all the facts in front of them. I can't just go to a seller and tell them, I'm going to sell your house, don't ask questions.
I would prefer that.
You would.
Because I'm a Gen Z, and sometimes it's like, oh, you're the professional. I ain't got to work with this. Can you sell a house?
Yeah.
Can you put photos on the market?
I think that on the sell side, when you're dealing with people's money and their equity, the seller's going to want to make sure, and our job is to net them as much money as possible.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right? So when we're in a market where we're telling them that their house is not worth what they think it's worth because they might be living in the COVID days, we now have to present them an idea that their house is worth $50,000 to $60,000 less.
Right.
So I talk a lot because I have to defend that argument.
Okay.
And the only way to defend that argument is by explaining things. So if I were to explain it to you, like you were 5, I would say, we need to price this home until we get showings. And the market has shifted, and it is not worth what it was worth a year ago. Mm-hmm. So you have to think about whatever, even if we take a little bit of a loss and you're not happy with that number, you will be really happy on the next house that you buy, because you're going to make up that difference.
There you have it. A little conversation about the seller's market.